Hi guys, we're in the next part. Please go check out the previous part to get your bearings. In the previous part, just briefly, I was speaking about how it is that the world does not have Africa as a scapegoat or a way out. The world of Christians, that is, while they don't embrace the colorful agenda over here, there are so many other issues with South Africa that it's not worth the while of believers to think that they can find solace here. And I speak this way because I have seen how many Americans, for instance, are trying to move to Africa. They're trying to move to South Africa, Cameroon, Ghana, Nigeria, wherever. And I'm like, okay, move there if your decision is based on just being adventurous or whatever, and you want to see how Africans live. But if you're trying to escape the insanity of the West, I'm sorry, you're not going to get any reprieve in Africa, because one, you're going to encounter issues of a different nature over here. There is like a whole cultic issue, especially if you're black. Like if you move to Africa as a black person living in Europe or in America or whatever, you're unfortunately only ever going to be seen as a black person and not so much as a black American or a black European. And there is this like incredible violence against each other, black on black violence in Africa. There is a lot of defeatism within one's own camp in Africa against people of their own skin color. So you're going to find yourself a lot more targeted as a black American living in South Africa, for instance, than you ever would have been in America, because there is an epidemic of witchcraft in Africa, in South Africa, and this witchcraft is largely in the black community. And what is also happening is that they are bewitching inside their own camps, in that it's mothers against daughters, cousins against cousins, sisters against siblings, fathers against their own sons. Like there's no discretion. They don't even, they're not even strategic in how they do this witchcraft, in that, oh, I'm going to cover my own family and then fight against my next door neighbor. They fight inside the household. So there's no unity. There's no unity among black people in Africa. Like I am not lying to you right now. Your own cousin will bewitch the living daylights out of you. When then you are working in corporate South Africa or out there in business or whatever, your black colleagues will more than likely target you as a black person than they will ever target your white colleague with witchcraft. They will trip you up with sorcery over your career, over your prospects for marriage, over your this and your that. So if you are a black American wanting to experience Africa for more than a holiday, but you're actually here permanently, you're living here, you're working in a corporate, or you're starting a business of some sort, you are going to have some black fellow businessman or some black colleague in the company that you work for come at you to try and pounce on your prospect at kids, prospect at marriage, prospect at job advancements, prospect at business prosperity. Like anything that you try to put your hands on, Africans have a way of just putting snares around each other spiritually. So there is really no safe zone to go as a person who's got ideological angst, in that the West is losing its mind, and so they want to move to Africa because it's purer there. It might be purer in terms of the colorful agenda and in terms of people, in terms of wokeism, like women are still women very strongly in Africa. We still hold to gender roles and stuff like that. We still got much of the old school goodness of femininity and masculinity rolling in our bones, but people trip each other here for sport. I kid you not, especially if you're black, because they will not see a black American. They won't care about your accent. They won't care about you speaking like a Brit or an Australian. To you, you're just a black person that is there to compete with them, and you are better at your job than they are. So they will boot you out with witchcraft. So if you want to have more spiritual war that you are at loggerheads with than you are already experiencing on your own continent where you're sitting right now, by all means move to Africa. If you are prepared to be a spiritual warrior that will never stop fighting, that will never stop fasting. I never stop fasting. Like I'm currently in another fast. Did I make mention of that? About 3-4 days ago, I started another fast. Because God told me you have to fast. I just got out of a fast about a week and a half ago. I was enjoying eating breakfast and everything, and God was like, you have to enter into another fast now because they're busy again. So if you want to spend your life constantly just eating one meal a day, or like taking 3 days just drinking water, if you want to keep on having to fight like principalities, rulers, and spiritual wickedness in high places because your next door neighbor won't stop spitting on your yard with some rope that they put there in the middle of the night, literally getting out of their SLK Mercedes, getting out of their cushy apartment in the wee hours of the morning just to come and plant some funny stuff in your garden while you sleep. If you want that, then come to Africa. That's how bad the witchcraft is. There's footage online. Okay? My hairstyle is going out of whack, whatever, just stay there because I think it's cute. There is footage online. If you just Google it, it's very hard to find anything from Africa on YouTube because they are deliberately not trying to push through their algorithms content from other places other than America. But if you search hard enough, you will find it. There are videos of witchcraft, people like surveillance footage, like most recently a celebrity in this country by the name of Babes Wodum released footage. Is it after or before her husband passed away? I stand corrected. Of her husband's sister, basically like rubbing her door with like some funny little muti, and she's like, "Bega lo muntu lona usisiga mampinja, bega usisiga mampinja, lento ayenzayo." Like basically, she's saying, "Look at the sister of my husband. She's busy rubbing something on my door, and I don't know what it is. She's busy bewitching the living daylights out of me." They had CCTV footage inside their house, and she was able to get this footage of the sister basically doing something to her bedroom, her house, where she lay with her husband every single night. Now, Babes Woduma was a celebrity case of this nature that shared a video of this nature, right? But like there are Lay Joes and Lay Janes in South Africa, that will give you CCTV footage of relatives, do you understand? Family members like an auntie or whatever, walking at like 1 a.m. in the morning to their yard and then like sprinkling something there, and then getting in their car and leaving. Only Google it. Like I implore you, I encourage you to go and Google witchcraft in action in Africa, witchcraft in action in South Africa, whatever. Make your pick. Cameroon, Nigeria. Make your pick. And there will be people who will be uploading CCTV footage of their own friends and family members in the wee hours of the morning, coming around their house to do something strange and then go. The one woman I remember, I giggled when she was sharing this because she made a joke. She was like, "Oh, morning, oh, wadi yipsi, kimo kazi wadi yips, oh, bizu loya jarata yaga." That means, look at my cousin with the hips. I see with her body shape who she is. Look at her bewitching my yard. She came with another person, and it was like I said, around 2 a.m. in the morning, and they were planting something. This is a normal cousin, like a normal girl. We're not speaking a witch grunting in some hut with like a horsetail flailing around in the sky, out of the environment where they're at. We're speaking your colleague that sits next to you in the office that generally just looks like an okay girl or an okay guy, coming to your property at 1 a.m. in the morning to do something there. That is the level of incredible sorcery that is going on in Africa. That's the witchcraft. It's being caught on CCTV, like footage, cameras. It is being caught live. There are videos of people busting witches on their houses. There are so many videos of people being caught in the act. There are entire documentaries dedicated to such a thing as this. There is a channel on YouTube called, is it Africa TV? I forgot. What is it? Anyway, I forgot. Like, just Google the stuff, okay? Just Google witchcraft boloi. Witchcraft boloi. Like BOLOI or BOLOYI. That is the South African Tswana word for witchcraft. Just Google witchcraft boloi and you will find channels rocking up, covering stories of people that have been busted. There is a newspaper in this country called Daily Sun, and it has got a reputation for covering taboo stories that mainstream reputable newspapers are not prepared to cover. So like a newspaper like The Star, for instance, will cover what the president is doing, a heist, a cash and transit heist from on the highway, or the presidential speech, the State of the Nation address or whatever. There are newspapers that cover a regular normal news, and then there is a newspaper in this country. There are newspapers in this country that are dedicated to taboo, weird, like ancestral worship, strange things that happen in the townships that people endure each other through. And if you page through that newspaper, there is an online version of it. You will be shocked out of your minds the kind of stories that you find there. And among the stories that are covered in newspapers like the Daily Sun are capturings of witches in the act in the middle of the night, like a neighbor coming out to take a leak, or a drunk man in the middle of the night taking a leak on the side of the street and then seeing a witch in action, deciding to scream, yell, moan, groan until all the neighbors come out and this dude is busted in the act. There are entire videos of villagers upset, holding this guy on some, look at him, he's busy bewitching the neighborhood, look at him, he was the one we found on the roof, what is this, what are you doing? And so they're now mad that somebody's busy bewitching them in the wee hours of the morning as they sleep. There are also witch doctors that have repented and given their lives to Jesus Christ that will also tell you quite a few stories. There was a woman in this country by the name of Portia Mohau. She came out from that dark land and she's now in the light, and she will also tell you about how it is that they used to do these rounds in people's neighborhoods at funny hours in the night. Yeah, stuff like that in Africa, it's just rife. It's everywhere, and it's like a daily bread. It's because of the amount of poverty that is all up in our business. People imagine that this is like a genie in a bottle or a get rich quick scheme, and so they keep trying it and trying and trying it, and what they are doing therefore is muddying the cosmos with demons, rulers, principalities, spiritual wickedness in high places, causing Christians to have a really hard time. It's hard to be a Christian in Africa. It's hard to be a Christian in South Africa. It is rough because you are in a spiritual war from petty witches. Never mind entire covens that are trying to rule nations because they belong to the United Nations, but they bewitch on a very lowly, petty level. So while you're trying to fight global matters or national matters, you're going to have to fight with the fact that your next door neighbor is trying to make sure you can't have a baby. For what reason, you can't even understand. So before you can even dabble with bigger issues, you've got to deal with the pettiness of little witchcraft. People just stealing your job, stealing your this, until it culminates to the destruction of a country, like an entire nation. So no, Africa's not a way out. I'm sorry, it isn't. You might be running away from indiscretion in the White House in America, but then you're going to be meeting a next door neighbor that's going to come at your womb, your fertility, for freaking crying out loud, and for what you can't even understand. They've got a theory that insofar as you can take a baby's wealth from before they're born, you can then make sure that everything that this child could have ever done in their lives now becomes yours. So now you find yourself infertile. Every time you try for a baby, you miscarry. And the reason you're miscarrying is because all the babies that you're miscarrying, all of them and their wealth has gone to a next door neighbor. Like, that's stuff that happens in Africa. And no, it is not even a fairy tale or an urban legend. It's some of it captured, like I said earlier, on CCTV cameras. So I dare you, come, especially as a black person, to live in Africa. I dare you. Come and live in South Africa. Come and live in South Africa and have a woman like me, as eloquent as I am, as intelligent, as gifted, as educated, and as skilled as I am, struggle to find a job for a decade. Come, like I dare you. I dare you to come here and experience the African, like, freaking spiritual encounter. That's what's going on. So no, guys, there's no way out in this world. Go to America, have your children be taught that they frankly don't have a gender until they decide they have one, and then come to Africa and have somebody constantly steal your mind, your wits, your womb, your children, your job, your career, come to Africa and have no freedom from witchcraft unless you go in and of yourself and partake in sorcery, cleanse yourself with dirty water, because apparently that's you being washed. Only then are you going to be safe from being bewitched by someone that's only known you for 5 seconds. 5 seconds. There's no way to go. I ranted like that to help you, as the body of Christ, understand that there's nowhere to go. Africa has a gaping hole of compromise in it that's going to make sure that over time, if the Lord did not restrain all the wickedness that's going on around, would ultimately capitulate even to the colorful agenda. And now that would be a little too much wickedness. The Lord has displayed, he has made it thorough and clear in the scriptures that not all sins are equal. Literally, not all sins are equal. There are very harsh and extreme reactions by God to some sins more than others. And for one particular sin, that of the alphabet agenda, he decimated an entire city. So if at all, an entire planet is just teeming at the folds with colorful agenda, alphabet people, you don't have 5 years, you don't have 3, you've got maybe 6 months. There's not time. So since the world is like that, it's like literally as in the days of Sodom. The Lord frowns severely upon the desecration of the image of God in human beings. And there is no single threatening of the image of God in human beings agenda on the earth right now than the colorful agenda, because they're trying to change men into women, women into men, confuse the identity of children from before they can even make decisions for themselves. It's like Nephilic type activity. There are only 2 times when God has this, like in the script, there is the end of days are described as 2 scenes or settings in history: Sodom and Gomorrah and the days of Noah. Days of Noah was full of hybrids, mixed human with angel, like DNA. Decimated the whole earth. Sodom and Gomorrah, alphabet agenda, decimated the whole city. And the earth right now is teeming at the folds with Sodom, and we are 5 seconds away from this whole hybrid issue with human DNA being mixed with some other stuff. People are experimenting in very satanic ways. There is no time. So since this Titanic is already sinking, it's already sort of kind of hit an iceberg, it is worthless, Christians. Y'all need to refocus your energies. You do. It is worthless to try and salvage your countries. It is worthless. Like I said in my previous parts, this alphabet agenda, I promise you, it is going to have the prosperity of the Black liberation or the women's liberation movement. The day is going to arrive where anyone in opposition to it is not only going to be considered a bigot, but frankly unacceptable, erasable, imprisonable. It's coming. No longer is anybody going to be able to successfully complain or contend with an alphabet person. The day's gonna come. But God does not allow such days to thrive. He burns them with fire and brimstone. So what do you do as Christians? You make like Abraham and you petition, advocate, stand in the gap for Lot and his family. That's all you can do. That's all we have left, you guys. All we can do is advocate for as many people as possible to be extracted from out of Sodom. There is no turning back. And it is very unfortunate for me because I cry every time I see a baby. I cry every time I see a toddler. I cry every time I watch YouTube videos or Facebook posts of infants because I'm that broody. I so desire to be a mom that I can't for the life of me understand why God never gave me my child or children, because I wanted a lot. I'm watching at 38, my geriatric womb basically confirmed to me that I'm very highly unlikely going to be a mother of 7 like I once wanted to. I wanted to pop 7 babies out of my stomach. And literally that number, that amazing godly number, I had it in my mind since I was a preteen. I wanted to have 7 children. Isn't it amazing how it is that I chose that number and I finally came to God? Yeah, a woman that wanted 7 kids, was prepared to start having her first child as early as 23, has no kids at 38, came to Christ at 26. I wanted to have children as early as 23, but I didn't because I wasn't married. I then got saved and I stopped fornicating. And for 10 years, I've been hidden in some cold, like Antarctic environment, making sure that I go nowhere, do nothing, such that my womb went from being wholly and comprehensively fertile to geriatric and with no hope inside of ever having children. So I mourn the prospect of this earth ending because it means that I will die or go to heaven without getting the one thing I wanted the most on this earth, a family. I wanted a husband. I wanted to be a traditional wife. I didn't care about the whole progression of the corporate ladder. For me, I was going to do that for as long as it took for me to get married. Then I was going to dedicate my all to kids. I researched richly, home studying, homeschooling, how to do that. I wanted to be a home mom. I did. Like a soccer mom, you know, that typicality that women gag at when they look at it. That's what I wanted. I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom whose husband would come home in winter to encounter steamy windows the way I'm busy cooking up a stew in the house. To give him that kind of experience, every time he came home, he would look forward to coming home instead of being annoyed and irritated because he was married to a contentious woman that's like a dripping tap on a rainy day. A constant dripping on a rainy day. So too is a contentious woman. I wanted to be everything that I've ever longed to be as a kid. The whole picket fence ideology never left me. Before and after Christianity, before and after Christ, that was where my purpose was at. And now today, I am single. I'm a spinster, for crying out loud, as gorgeous as I am. Let's just put that out there. Please don't lie. Absolutely marriable. Was at some point incredibly fertile. Happy to go and pop multiple babies to a man that I was content should be the one bringing the bread home. Yeah, that was my dream. And I asked God on my knees fervently as soon as I came to him, please give me what I've always wanted as a kid. Now I know it's feasible through you. And God said no. I feel like Jeremiah. You know, Jeremiah is this guy in the scriptures that wanted a wife, and God was like, no, you're going to be a prophet. So I have mourned. When I hear women talk about their birthing stories, when I listen to them talk about their kids, when I see them in public or even on social media, I get emotional. I cannot look at a baby and not want to cry. Sometimes I just cry, period. I just mourn. And it has developed in me also a very strong spirit of jealousy against women who have kids. That never used to be the case, because for me it was like, I'm going to have mine, but now I don't have them, and I'm 38. But you see, I can't just go around seeking any random sperm donor to have a baby. I need to rather look into why God never allowed a woman with such a strong desire for kids to not have them, and with such a healthy mindset towards family to not get a family. Why would the Lord withhold from me that promise? Why would the Lord withhold from me? He said, ask anything you want in my name and I will give it to you. If you abide in me and my words abide in you, ask for anything you want and it will be given to you, Garabo. If you are my disciple, understand that the answers to your prayers are yes and amen. Why would the Lord withhold from somebody like me, a woman like me? Literally, we are so few and far between. We are hard to find in this modern society. All these women are capitulating to feminism. Why would the Lord withhold from me? Why would the Lord withhold from some honest man, a wife like me, a man that prays? Why would he withhold me from him? And why would he withhold children from a mother like me? And why would he withhold me from the opportunity of motherhood? It is because Karabo, you give birth in this era and generation. As doting as you are over my precepts, understand that you're going to be anomalized, and the thing you are will be considered a domestic terrorist. The thing you are will also be considered kind of abusive to children, because you won't let them be free. You won't let them have their leg room. And on top of that, you're so intelligent, you're so gifted. Why under heaven would you want to spend your time doting over your husband and your children as a career? You are going to be come up against by people who are going to make you second guess the glory of godly femininity, godly womanhood. This was not the time for you to give birth to babies, baby. You were born not to be a mom, but to be a voice for my charge to the end times church. In an era and a season where women like you are not going to be wanted anymore, because frankly, you're too old school. And you're going to get a whole bunch of people coming up against you on TikTok, on Twitter, on YouTube, literally trying to block you from being just a basic Eve, a basic Hannah, a basic Rachel, like a basic Abigail, just a basic woman. Instead of whatever it is that this morphed, robotic, bionic, odd, indoctrinated thing that's roaming the earth as more acceptable and more embraceable than what is ordinary, true, wonderful, spectacular, fascinating, and significant, because God made it that way. Next part.